Hello everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe. People of Earth, welcome to part 4, the fourth and final part of the build of the 1537 AMT Reliant. And I am absolutely thrilled to have all of you along. Thank each and every one of you for all of your incredible support and your comments. They've been awesome. And I know a lot of you are building this, and that is fantastic. And I hope that some of the ideas that I've given you for aftermarket parts inspire you to make your model the way you want, from where you want it in the universe. You know, you can make it Canon from Khan, or you can do your version of Reliant or Saratoga, whatever you want. The point is, get it out of the stash pile, put it on your bench, and start building it. You know who you are. So let's dive in. I am on the bench with decals. This is the Aztec decaling system that comes from AMT. It's an aftermarket offering. We've talked about this. I'm just laying down the last of the crossbar decals. I thought it would be fun to just take a look at what I'm doing. They're going down beautifully. There are a couple of rules. One of them is make sure that you've got a really nice slick surface, whether it's a gloss finish. This has the a nice semi-gloss on it, varnish. It's been drying for a few days, so it is ready to go. My decal is ready to slide off here. And one of the things you've got to remember to do is you've got to stay low and you've got to stay close. Low and close, that's the rule. Get it low and close, and then just slide it straight down. And you should have a relatively easy time putting these on. Now these are on the large side. I've got a nice big brush here that's wet, and I'm using that to squeegee my part, or I should say my decal, and getting it on. And they go on very simply. It is not a complicated process. However, that would be the golden rule, guys. Low and slow, and get it off. And remember, if you get an undertuck, if you get something that tucks under, you can definitely pull it back. You've got to get some tweezers, and you've got to be very patient. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If you are new to this and you've never done it, and you've got these decals, try something that's a little easier first, in my humble opinion. Do not try to do this out of the gate, because you could run into some issues, and they are tricky. And to suggest that I have issues with them, I do. Now what I'm doing here is I'm putting down some of my Walther's solver set. It's very good for getting the decal to lay down nicely over some of the details that extend over the plastic. You'll find that it tucks them down quite nicely. And as I'm doing here, I'm looking into the light to see if there's any creases at all. If they are, I gingerly push those out to an edge and just let them settle. Now you may encounter a little bit of shrinkage, or where it appears as though it's shriveling up. Don't panic. Don't panic. That's the solver set doing its thing. What I'm doing there is just encouraging some air bubbles to sort of pop there. But there you go. That is looking really spiffy, and I couldn't be happier with that. Now, some of you might be saying, Phil, you've abandoned loose masks. No, I haven't. The saucer is getting the masks. We're playing with the decal set on other areas where it's a little more, challenging, or I wanted to just see how they lay down. And I think they're doing a really nice job. They're doing a really nice job. They're going down beautifully. So I couldn't be happier with that. So we're going to continue. I'm going to continue. I've got some to put on the sides of the pylons. It's early in the morning here, so bear with me. The coffee hasn't kicked in yet. So the pylon decals have to go on, but everything else is going on quite beautifully. So couldn't be happier with that. Very nice. Very, very nice. So I'm getting those to lay down, and I can see there where the solver set will just let that sink down. So anyway, so that's it. We're moving along with the decals. We're going to be putting decals on the sides of the saucer because we've got those sensor bands in the decals. We're also going to be putting decals over the windows where the step is from the saucer, from the lower part of the saucer to the top, because that is also something that requires a little bit of trickiness, because it's got some detail in it that these decals have in, and I want to go ahead and use those. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep going on the decals now that you've seen how they lay down. We'll take a look at everything once the decals are down, and then after we've got the basic decals down, we're going to start working on some of the final details. We're going to start building up some of those final details. We won't put the registry on until a little later. Registry, as you know, makes her official, so we'll wait to do that. But we will be we will be hitting the surface of the ship with a matte varnish when we're finished, because and this is a good thing, over the studio lights you can see there's a shine to this, and that shine isn't what we want. That is the transfer film that's got a little bit of a gloss to it, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. We don't want it though, so we will be hitting the whole thing with a matte at the end. Okay, we shall continue. So this decal here just gives the shuttle bay doors another level of interest. The other thing I've noticed too is if you've got little nicks or maybe a blemish or two, some of these decals will hide some of that stuff. Okay, quickly wanted to get discussing this area right here in front of the bridge. Now I've got a high gloss coat on here, so nobody panic. That's for my other decals. But I wanted you to notice that there is, in fact, in the production model, there are these black studs that appear on the front nose of the bridge, or on the faceplate of it. And this is the decal that came with the AMT sheet that you are supposed to put down before you put your bridge down. But if I did that, I wouldn't be able to do the puttying and the cleaning up that I did. So what I've done is I've cut it out. I've cut the center out, as you can see here. And then my intention is to lay it down in front. However, the scale of it is wrong, because I used an aftermarket bridge, so it doesn't fit. So I'm going to have to think about what I need to do, because those black studs, those little black hash marks, they are in fact on the production model. Now, not that I'm Canon or anything, but it's a cool look, and I don't have any other way to create it. Now, none of the other decal sets that are available on the market, and I've got a few of them here. I've got the JT Graphics, the HDA Model Works, even the model itself. That, no surprise. And neither does the masking set from Aztec Dummy come with these, and it's probably because they're just too tiny in this scale to replicate. However, I'm going to try and use these hash marks, I think, and the way I'm going to do that is I think I'm going to just cut them out and lay them down. I think I will. I'm going to take a look at that in just a second. I've also put in my gray paneling. I used Regiment Gray from Army Painter, and I'm liking that. Now, obviously, it's all a little too glossy now. We will be doing some pin washing and some other things, but at the moment, it's looking really good. I've got all kinds of decaling to do now, as well as Aztecing the bottom of my ship. And these are all sort of the final things that we're working on. It's coming along, and I'm really happy with where we are in the process. So I've also got some photo etch to put on. I've got the grills here. Let me show you these. These are the grills that come with the photo etch kit too. And I've painted those matte black, and they're going to sit on the outside of the impulse engine, and we'll tack those on with just a little bit of the microcrystal clear. So we've got that to do. There's also another little bit of photo etch that is going to be on the outside of the pylon corners that needs to go on, and I will need to get a coat of paint on those before I lay them down, because I don't want to brush over metal. You really want to airbrush your photo etch parts if you can. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this second decal on the shuttle bay doors, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start concentrating on building up all the various different elements that we want to put on the top of this saucer, after I've gone ahead and cleaned up the bottom of the saucer, which is obviously going to need its Azteking and some other touches. But we'll look at that in just a minute. The Reliant has blue sensor bands on top of the Azteking that goes around the saucer. I don't have any way of replicating that, so I'm going to use the AMT aftermarket Azteking set to do it. I used the dummy masks on the top here, and they came out really well. And I've added what I also did was I cut myself a little stencil from a 3x5 card, and I just added my blue hash marks wherever I wanted, just to add that sort of accent. But now we're ready to sort of start laying down the side panels. So I thought it would be in the best interest of the build to go ahead and put this on camera. God help me, but here we go. Now it's got a gloss coat on it. And we're ready to go. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we can do a nice job here. Okay. So again, low and slow is the buzzword here. Low and slow. Okay. And then you take your brush, and you're going to wet it like this, and we're going to just carefully put this into position here as we need to. Now there's a piece that's going to go across the top here, but this needs to go up just a hair, and so we're going to attempt to do that. Attempt to get this, move this up just a little bit. It's almost in the perfect position. So I'm happy with that. Then I'm just going to come along here, and I'm going to Now I've got decals that are gonna ultimately go over the doors here to add that door element back. But there you go. That looks quite good. And it laid down quite nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep going, trying to keep this as level as I can. But that's the general idea, and I think you'll see that putting the sensor bands in is really worth it. And I was able to get pretty darn close with that blue. And that blue I'm using it's a Vallejo steel gray. And so I got really close to the actual color of the decals. So I think it's all kind of blending together quite nicely. So that's the good news. Now I've just got to be really careful as I go around. Now what's interesting is you can lay these decals right over your windows. That does two things. It pushes those windows back, which is really nice, and it also allows you to sort of give it a really nice finish. So I'm very happy with that. I think that's a result, and I definitely think this is a way to go. Now, as I said, there's an element here. Let me show you. There's an element that sits right here on top and wraps itself around. So that hasn't gone on yet. But these are basically where they're going to live, and that's a good thing. And then now I'm just going to go ahead and just give it a little bit of my, just because I don't want these to come up, I want these to stay down. So I'm just adding a little bit of the solver set there just to put it in place. Okay, I'm going to keep on going, and we'll see what this looks like with all of these of these decals, because it's quite a momentous moment, I think, in this build. Not to mention the fact that I've still ignoring the fact that I've got to marry my crossbar, and I've got to glue that on, and I've got to plug those in, and I've still got to get this on its base, and I've still got to get every wired in. So, you know, we are getting there. We are getting there, and it is coming together very well. And I think, again, once it gets its matte coat over all of this, it'll really come together. Yeah, I'm happy to see it progressing at this point. I'm making progress, and I'm very, very happy with the AMT Azteking kits. Decals for the windows on the step. Take a look. They came out really well, and that's just not something I don't feel comfortable that I could have painted as well. So I'm very happy with that. I think that works. So I'm now experimenting with adding a little bit of that to the detail to these this section here. If I like it, I'll keep it. If I don't, I'll go ahead and paint that. But I'm just sort of playing with it to see what it looks like. I'm also liking the depth it's creating, this very interesting image of blending. So it's a lot of fun to play with it. And again, I'm using everything just to see what it looks like and to play with it. Why not? You know, hey, my model, right? But I think it's fun to play and to use your imagination and just have some fun with it, because that's what it's all about. Anyway, I'm gonna keep chipping away here. I think there should be a entire YouTube show entitled "Not All Decals Are Equal." In the world of decals, or for my folks in Europe, decals, you get a mixed bag and you get mixed results. So I thought it would be worth just taking a minute here, just a second out of our day. It's been a good day. I'm putting down decal decals on the top of it, just because I wanted to. I probably should have started underneath, but it's actually easier to do the underneath, a lot harder to do the top, only because the post is permanently installed, and so I'm on a constant angle, which is a good news and bad news. But anyway, back to the decals. At the top of the part one, I showed you a whole bunch of decals that I bought, and I bought a bunch. I bought some from JT Graphics, some from HD Model Works. I got the Azteking kit from AMT, and then of course you've got the set that comes with the model. Now the set that comes with the model are very they're raised. You know, the backing or the contact film that they use is thicker. And I think that's probably something to do with the fact that they're pre-cut, and maybe that's probably easier to do that way. I don't know. I suspect it is, but hey, all supposition on my part. But I've been playing with the different sheets. I thought to myself, since you've been bragging from the top that you're using a little bit of everything, and it sort of became this potpourri build, which I don't recommend. But for the purposes of this channel and for the build, I thought it would be a lot of fun, and I'm getting pretty decent results, so I'm not too upset. And don't forget, none of this has settled down yet. We don't have a final matte coat on everything. It's still too over glossy, over shiny, blah blah blah. But it is interesting, and one of the things that I have discovered now, especially with the better with the HDA Model Works than the others. Now, this is just my opinion and my experience. This has nothing to do with whether or not I'm right or I'm wrong, or which one you place in any particular order. I am not judging. I'm just simply reporting on my experiences here. And what I'd like to say about the HDA Model Works is that I just laid down the NCC 1864, and I had an issue where, as I was laying it down, the 6 and the 4 here completely curled up. They completely curled up on me. Now, in other circumstances, when that happens and they twist and they turn, you might as well just throw it, because getting it unraveled is very, very difficult. However, with this decal and a nice large brush that was wet, I was able to pick it up, get plenty of water on it, and it unraveled beautifully. And that's the result. And I'm very happy with it. And then of course I use my brush just as a bit of a squeegee. But the purpose is to make sure that the carrier film essentially disappears, and they end up looking like like they were painted on. But they're not, obviously. They're not painted on, but that's the object of the exercise here. And I think I'm really, you know, anyway, I'm very pleased with the HDA Model Works decals. That takes nothing away from my other decals. That's just the experience I had with that one, and I was very happy I was able to save the decal, even though I've got plenty of others if there was a mistake. I used the red lines here that came with the actual kit itself. Don't recommend doing that. Don't use them. They're not worth it. And you'll get, you know, this was, I can't tell you how really hard that was to put these down. It was hard. I had a lot of, I mean, you know, now of course that's what happens when you've got a little thin strip of carrier film. You're gonna run into issues like that. But I just wanted to report in as I'm doing this, and I'm having mixed results. Now, I am going to not lay down the last thing I'm going to put down. I decided is going to be the sensor bands. Haven't put those down yet, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to get this overlap on, and I've done that. So this Aztec, and again, let me remind everybody that we're simply working on just sort of laying these down and getting some angles, and then we'll come back. Now that we've got all this filled in, we can come back and we can actually get that sensor band in. It'll be the last thing we do. We did get the back ones on, and I'm very happy with that result. They laid down beautifully, so couldn't be happier with that. Oh, there's another little technique. I don't know if you like this idea or not. You might say, Phil, that's the worst idea I've ever heard, but I've discovered something. Hey, when I discover things, they're happy accidents. Essentially, what I did was, after I had laid down my insignia white, before I laid down my top white, my dusting of my top white, I put my Aztec dummy masks over the windows. Now, the interesting thing about it is Lou's masks are slightly larger than the actual template windows that you cut that comes from Paragraphics. This is a good thing, because then what I did was, after those masks were down, I went ahead and I dusted it with my white, and you get a porthole effect. Now, some of you might say, don't like it, but some of you might say, love it, and you get these lovely little portholes. Really fun, and it actually adds a little bit of depth to the model, so I'm very, very, very happy with that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put down the name of this ship and christen it, even though we're not there yet, but we are dangerously close. But it is time to christen the Reliant. So here we go. Very quiet while he does this. You can see it's classically sticking to my fingers, but we're pretty good here. Let me just tug her over, make sure she's lined up, and she is. I think that's pretty good. I think that is spot on. There you go. Gotta just get that lined up a little bit, make sure it's all nice and level, and I'm happy with that. Get the water out of it. There we go. The Reliant. I love it. She's christened. I always get a kick out of putting the name on a ship. I don't know why. I just think it's really a cool thing to finally get to that point in the process. It's it says, hey, you've come a long way, and we've come a long way. But anyway, that went down nicely. Everything is on here, so I've just got to go ahead and just clean a few things up, but I'm continuing to put some details on. I may use a little bit of panel liner. I'm not sure, just around a couple of the areas. But at the moment, I'm sort of still playing with things. The next thing I have to do, obviously, is it has to be flipped over, and we have to work on the bottom. And so I will go ahead and do that. I'll get all the decals laid in, and then we'll look at everything once I have got it all decaled, and we'll start deciding about what we're going to pick off and not. I am going to do a light leak test for sure. I'm going to do a light leak test. Okay. Anyway, just wanted to share the memorialization of the USS Reliant. That's NCC 1864's registry. It is on, and we carry on. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm actually Azteking from the AMT kit at the bottom, because I thought it would be fun to see the contrast between the top and the bottom. Now, a lot of you might be saying, I know, that doesn't look right, or it doesn't look good, and and that may be true. That may be true. But for me, this was an opportunity to really play with all of these aftermarket parts. And I thought I'd be doing myself an injustice if I didn't go ahead and do a little more Azteking. So I thought the top, which is the beauty shot, that got the Aztec dummy treatment. The bottom gets the AMT treatment, and we'll see if the whole thing at the end actually appears as though it's blending together. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to lay down this piece right here. And the way I'm going to do that is I simply slide this over just enough to where I can find the edge. And then I carefully, low and slow, let this down over the model and just let it settle. And then what you do is you sort of go to town on it. And what I mean by that is you take your brush and you use it as a squeegee, get it nice and wet. You've got time, and you start sort of making sure that everything is lined up and sort of where it needs to be. Now, this is where it gets super tricky, because sometimes you get a corner that doesn't cooperate, and when it doesn't cooperate, you got to unfold it. This is why I say this is not something to do if you've never done this before. And what I just did carefully was I pulled it, tucked under itself, and I pulled that out. And you do have time to do this, and you do you can get a very nice clean result, and it is a very efficient way. It's a very efficient way to put Azteking down. And where you've got these little bumps and nooks and crannies, don't cut around your decal. Let it dry. Use your solver set to let it dry, and then when it's all dried out and sunk in, if you need to cut around something carefully with a hobby knife, you can do that. But I think you'll agree that this is, it's relatively decent. It's not perfect by any means, but if you're somebody who doesn't have an airbrush at home, you don't feel comfortable painting, this system does work, but it's going to require a lot of practice, guys, a lot of practice. So, but don't be intimidated by it. Just take your time, low and slow, and you'll get a really nice result. And it will sort of settle down into all those nooks and crannies. And the last thing we'll do is the front of the ship. We'll go ahead and put on the sensor bands and the front finished the front finish Azteking as well, because as you may recall, we can't paint that. We don't have the masks. They don't come in that set. Okay, so there you go. I said it again earlier, but if you're jumping forward and you're not watching the whole video, the motto is low and slow. And what I mean by low and slow is get your soaked decal, I mean, you let it sort of release, let it set on a dry tissue like we do regular decals. But when you're ready to lay this down, keep it low and slow, and it should slide right off. If it's not sliding right off, then it is not ready to be released. Now, the other thing I would highly recommend you do, this is, I got this on Amazon. This particular brand is just TZE, but there's a ton of these. It's a mister bottle. It's not a squirty bottle that puts out heavy droplets. It puts out a mist, and it's a fantastic thing for your kit, guys, if you're decaling, because it creates this lovely surface. Even though you've glossed your surface, this creates a wonderful little sort of skid for your decal, so that you can get it into place and give yourself some time to work on it. And it mists, so it doesn't soak everything, but it does get the area nice and wet with a very tiny bubble. Not expensive, a few bucks, but I highly recommend you getting this for your kit. Our final piece of the puzzle here is going down, and this will complete the main body Azteking. A little bit of detail work and cleanup to do in the center here, but I wanted you to see this as a complete piece. And then I think it would be fun to let me know in the comments what you think about the AMT decal, Azteking decal system. Not instead of the Aztec dummy painting system. Don't get me wrong. They're two completely different disciplines, and they give you much different results. This is not judging one over the other. This is just showing you both processes. So this has nothing to do with what's better. Absolutely, I want to make that clear. This is just about process, and me deciding that this build was really about trying to use as much of the aftermarket parts that are available to us, and that's what this ended up being. So, but I would be curious to know in the comments if you have ever used this system yourself, and what you think of it, because there is one out there available for the I believe it's the Discovery Enterprise, and I believe there's also there's one out there for there may be one out there for the JJ Prize. I don't recall. I have to look and see. So don't quote me on that. But yeah, it's you know, it's a nice system. And if, like I said, if you don't have an airbrush, if you don't have the ability to paint, but you want to model make, you want to build your models, and you're not, you're just not comfortable, this is an interesting alternative for sure. For sure. And gets a very decent result. A very decent result. So there you go. That is the AMT system being used, and we will also use it for the sensor bands, and that'll be the last thing we do to complete the exterior of this. And then we're going to go back now, and we're going to start working on some of the picking out some of the details of the various different elements we want to highlight. There's a couple more decals that have to go on the front, so I will get those on. But for the most part, we're looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Let me just go ahead and get this cleaned up. We're going to let this dry. I'm going to let this dry overnight, and then I am at the very end when I've got the sensor bands down around. Then and only then will I lay a clear matte varnish over everything, just to bring it down, get rid of that shine, and try to make it all come together. And the next thing we'll do after that is we'll start looking at getting this attached to the base. But yeah, I mean, I think we're getting there. And you know, it's a lot of fun. It's time to marry the two pieces, and I've got everything organized here. At least I think I have. It's just a question of plugging each piece into each piece. Now I have to be very careful here because I don't want to cause any problems for myself. So let me do that. So I've got somewhere to sit. This to sit, and I should have enough. Umbilical here that I can do this. So purple goes to the only plug that isn't tagged. So that would be this one to this one. So I've got to make sure I've got red to red. That's good. And then I've got gray to gray here. So there's gray. And there's gray. Let me get that plugged in. Now, even though I've got plugs on this, which you'd think would be very clever, once they're pushed all the way in, I don't know how difficult it would be to actually get them out. So, and the thing of it is too, is the model is completely sealed. So if there's an issue here, it just simply means at this point it won't light. Just see here if we've got light. So I'm going to go ahead and bring over my 12-volt system. Red to red. Ground to ground. Voila! We've got light, folks. Everything is fired up. This is awesome. A little bit of the chiller grill there. Here's the rear end of the thing. Whoops! The impulse engines are going. I've got my beaker markings flashing. Everything is flashing. I've got I think I've got to clean that one up. My green nav is going fine. My reds are fine, and my white is fine. Pretty good. But so let me go ahead and get this crossbar attached, and we'll get dangerously close to a finish line. Well, this is one of the most awkward parts of this build, unfortunately. The way these bases are designed, if you're not going to have any kind of a plug-and-play system for your post permanently comes out of your model. It's got to go into the base itself, which means that the beauty plate, the top portion of the actual light box / base, has to go onto your pole. Everything has to go through that, and then it has to get fed into this clear acrylic piece here. Now, I did trim a little piece of the bottom of my post to allow everything to drop as far down as I can possibly get it, and then I've got to sort of reorient this so it's facing us correctly. But it is incredibly awkward. The way this is designed, I don't see another way to get these wires through here. So you just have to take your time, get yourself some kind of a platform, unless you've got another pair of hands in the shop or at home that can help you. This is very, very awkward. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to put any weight at all on the model. You don't want to lean it on its side. You don't want it to have any kind of pressure on it, because you do risk this crossbar or something snapping. Well, here she is on her base. I was not thrilled with the fit, so I've gone ahead and laid down some electrical tape here to frame it and hide the sort of light leak that comes from the gap. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect fit, but kicking and screaming, I got it there. Okay, I have to tell you, I'm thrilled this ship is going to be part of my collection, but I'm also physically exhausted from this, mentally exhausted from this build. Let me go ahead and let's get some beauty shots of this lit up, looking all beautiful, and then I'll come back for some final thoughts. So there you have it, the AMT 1537 scale Reliant, and it has been an absolute delight to get this on the bench and get it built up. It's a tremendous challenge to add lighting to something like this, and the skill level goes up immensely. But if you've got this kit and you don't want to light it, build it. A static model is just as awesome. It's the fact that it's the Reliant from Wrath of Khan, or the Saratoga, I guess, from later stories. But the point is that, it's one of those challenges that I think you definitely have to think about and take your time and get it going. This took me 4.5 weeks, and I'm in the shop every day. You, if you're just taking your time, as well you should. As long as you want. As long as you're on the bench, I don't care if it's for 5 minutes or 10 hours. Please enjoy your hobby. Get these kits out and build them. You know how I feel. They belong on a shelf being displayed and enjoyed, not in a box getting dusty. A couple of thank yous I would like to place at the end of this video. Let me start with my dear friends Lou Dalmaso and, of course, the great Wayne Green, for all of his tremendous support over the years, as I hit now 9,000 subscribers building this, if you could believe that. But Lou, for his incredible guidance, his skill, his masks, and just his friendship. I really appreciate him very much. The great Keith Tomlinson over at Cosmic Scale Models for this awesome, awesome display. Look at this. What a great piece of kit to have. And absolutely thrilled that I could get this on the bench. And thank you, Keith, for your base. They come in all different sizes, and feel free to reach out to him at cosmicscalemodels.com and inquire about bases and even a specialty item. I know he's added a few to his list. Hey, the great Ralph Tenaglia over at Tenor Controls for what an amazing board, and not just a board that you can enjoy as is, but if you want to add a few more lights, you certainly can. Obviously, my chiller grills fired up beautifully. You just add them to the 12-volt system straight away because it's strip lighting, no problems. Want to add a couple of additional nav lights, as I did, because I wanted to get the rear of this fired up, and so I was able to do that. And as you can see here, we can get our phasers firing. Great fun. So, a full complement of stuff. So that's Ralph at Tenor Controls, doing great work. And I used lots of aftermarket parts, but Cass over at Lake Monster Details. Check him out. His detailing sets are absolutely terrific. And of course, last but not least, Steve Iverson over at Cult TV, man. Steve, you are a good friend, and you are so much a friend to the channel. I greatly appreciate you helping me out in a fix. You did. So thank you for the great Steve Iverson over at Cult TV, man. Oh, and of course, hey, Green Strawberry, come on. I apologize. Green Strawberry, don't forget. They've got a wonderful line of product. Paul over at Paragraphics for his detail sets as well. His photo etch is second to none. The quality is exceptional. So much wonderful stuff to work with out there in the universe of our hobby for us to play with, from decals to all the wonderful detail parts that you can accurize with or improve detail on. You definitely need to think about all of those things. And of course, the Paragraphics template set, don't forget that's how I cut my windows. So definitely worth it. Hey, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm spruverse@gmail.com. I post most days what's going on the bench, in the weeds photos. That's at Spruverse. I'm on Instagram, obviously, occasionally on TikTok, but not an awful lot. Hey, thanks as always to my wonderful subscribers for allowing me to be with you and to really enjoy all of the wonderful comments and to share our hobby together, and all the wonderful emails I get. Some of you sending pictures of your incredible stuff, and one of these days I'll probably do a show trying to showcase some of my subscribers' wonderful work as well. But hey, as always, I wish all of you, please, be safe and be well. Build something! And I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Be well.